I think everyone should be on TikTok. I think it is raw and authentic. I think that it doesn't have to be perfect, curated content like other platforms tends to be. I've had success with it just being myself. You don't have to be made up every day. You don't have to have the perfect classroom or the perfect desk set up. Like, it's okay to be messy. It's okay to be raw. It's okay to have feelings and emotions. Knowing that you don't have to overthink it and that you can just share where you are, I feel like is the reason that I stay on TikTok.
Welcome to the podcast for anyone who has been known as that teacher.
That teacher who is always dreaming up new ideas. That teacher who has an Instagram account. That teacher who goes on TikTok to share the latest teaching trends. That teacher who isn't afraid to try new things.
We're Megan and Alyssa, and we were both known as that teacher before we started our ed tech company, Pop PD.
If you're an educator who's been looking for something more opportunities to lead, grow, and inspire others, we are here to show you the newest pathways to leadership for modern educators.
We'll interview teachers who have taken their leadership beyond the four walls of their classroom to become thought leaders in the online space.
You'll hear about the ups and downs of their experience sharing their educator journey online, and we hope you'll be inspired and re-energized by their unique stories. Dawn Ellis has been teaching for over 13 years in elementary and preschool special education and has an educational specialist degree in special education. Dawn also is a national board certified teacher in the area of exceptional needs specialist. She has worked with inclusion, resource, severe, profound, and autism classrooms throughout the years. She's an award-winning educator, including a state finalist for Teacher of the Year, as well as other awards within the district and state. When not teaching, Dawn is a mom, an avid reader, and also a podcaster. She has a podcast specifically designed for special education teachers called Be the Exception to gain weekly tips to use in their classrooms. She also maintains a blog, a sticker shop, a TPT store, and a social media presence as Cultivating Exceptional Minds, where she creates and shares time-saving strategies and resources for special education teachers. Do not miss this episode if you've been thinking about starting a TikTok account for your business. You will be furiously jotting down notes as Dawn drops all the tips about showing up on TikTok as you are, imperfect, messy, not curated, and you'll drive more traffic to your store just by showing up as you. Dawn currently teaches as a special educator, so of course she has a system for everything in her business, and she focuses on batching out all of her content during summer, winter, and spring breaks so that everything runs on autopilot during the school year. Get out your notebook and hit play because you are going to want to soak up all the business advice in this episode. Both the Extracurricular Podcast and That Teacher Podcast are brought to you by the team at Pop PD. Our mission is to empower teachers to connect with one another around sharing teaching strategies, tips, tricks, and ideas you actually want, creating a learning experience as dynamic as you are. We know you need access to ongoing, relevant resources to support your teaching career, and it's our mission to help you feel fully supported as a modern educator. Check out our platform now at poppd.co to sign up for your free interactive workspace where you can access ideas and strategies for teaching, organize your favorite teaching ideas, and add your own notes and to-dos to keep everything in one easy-to-access spot. We have new challenges every month to help inspire you on topics like podcasting with your students and using ChatGPT to make communicating with families easier. If you're a school leader or instructional coach in charge of PD, you'll love our platform for curating your own PD library from our content or easily adding your own content to share with your teachers. And of course, we have a community space where you can come together with other teachers around the world to get advice, to laugh, to cry, to vent, whatever you need. It's off of Facebook. It's our little corner of the internet where we can be ourselves. Just click the community button on poppd.co and we'll see you there. We are here with Dawn and all about to dig into her business journey, and I can't wait. Welcome, Dawn, to That Teacher Podcast.
Hey, Alyssa, thanks so much for having me.
We just finished recording the extracurricular episode with Dawn all about how as a regular education teacher and a special educator, you can kind of work as a team to support your students. So definitely go listen to that. if you're interested in hearing more about what Dawn has to say about all of that. And here on That Teacher podcast, we're going to dig into your journey. So I'd love to talk to you and just kind of start with, how in the world did you end up sharing your ideas and expertise online? Where did this all begin?
Sure. So I had the opportunity to become a special education self contained teacher my fourth year, and this is now year 13. I just finished year 13. And so during the time that I became this self contained teacher, I was like, what do I do in this classroom with kids that have and I have kindergartners and I have fifth graders and everything in between and all these different needs. And it was like the textbooks weren't teaching me, and and it was right before the like boom of like blogger days, but there were a few bloggers, and actually Sasha from the Autism Helper, like I chatted with her on her podcast, and I was like I was an OG like, and she would just share her ideas of what she was doing in the classroom or the freebies she found and what she was doing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this too, because like that's the only way I survived the first few years, is seeing what other people were doing in their classrooms, and there were just so few. And really, it was different than my classroom. So she had autism classroom, and I had a multi-disability classroom, and so that's kind of where it started. It was like, okay, I see how she documents. It's not too hard. Let me just show what I'm doing in my classroom. Oh, hey, this didn't work. Let me try this, and let me talk about it. And so I started just on Instagram, just kind of sharing different things that were going well with leading IEP meetings, doing things in my classroom. And they were basic activities. And then that has then grown into having a blog and a social media presence, and then a podcast as well, because so many teachers were saying, I need more. This is exactly what I needed. I need help as a special educator getting started. And so it has become into what it is today.
Amazing. How did you decide on that first monetization piece? So you were sharing on Instagram, like sharing your ideas. How did you decide, like, okay, here's what I'm going to sell?
Sure. So, with me being in the self contained classroom, the state that I'm in has alternate standards. And I had taken time to really develop the kind of assessment. It was a portfolio and the worksheets that went alongside that. And I developed it all for the grade levels that I had. And other teachers kept reaching out, like, hey, can I have a copy of that? That would save me so much time. And they were like, I'm willing to pay you. And so at that point, it was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't mind sharing. I feel like teachers overshare so many times. They're like, yeah, like, I'll help you. And so that was like way back in the, like, I don't know, like the early TPT days, when I didn't even realize that like TPT could like change the monetary like value of my life a little bit. And so I like just posted them on there just for fun. And for me at the very beginning, it was like, oh my gosh, like people are really buying these. And it was like super niche, right? Like this isn't just educators, this isn't just special educators, this is just educators that are in my state needing the specific kind of assessment material. And so it kind of grew from there. It was like, oh, people are willing to buy this and pay this amount of money, and it's no problem. I'm going to continue to work on that, but then broaden a little bit to what I'm doing in my classroom and what other special educators could need. So that's where it started.
Love that. I love that you started with a niche. It's funny because with niches, people are like, oh, I don't know what my niche is. I don't know if I should niche down. It's like, just start by solving one problem that somebody has. Listen and see if you can figure out, is there a problem that you can solve? Pick something, solve the problem, give it to them, and then just keep listening and see what else they need. That's like the very best way to start. A lot of times people will come to me and say, what do you think of this idea? What do you think of that idea? I'm thinking about selling this to this person. And it's like, I don't hold those answers. I'm a business coach, but I don't hold the answers as to like what people are going to buy. They do. Just listen to them and then answer that call. So I love that advice.
And I think even more than that, just to take a step farther back, is what Dawn even did, is she solved her own problem first, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
You solved a problem of your own, and just because you were sharing about it and mentioned it here and there, that's when you kind of got the interest. And that was that signal of, hey, this might be worth something to somebody else. It definitely is, because people are asking me about it. So it's kind of like, if you're really stuck and you haven't even, dipped your toe out there yet, is turn inwards and kind of look at like, what problems have I solved for myself that have saved me time or headache or whatnot. And then that kicks off one thing. And as Alyssa said, then you can kind of start noticing what people react to and explore from there. So it's, you definitely have stuff. I mean, teachers are creators. Whether or not you have ever thought of yourself that way, you're a creator already. You have a lot of different stuff in your toolbox to offer. It's just a matter of kind of noticing which one might, be the spark.
Yeah. Sure. What do you think was the turning point in your journey where like you said, oh my gosh, this is a business. Like, this is not just me putting my stuff on TPT.
Well, I think that right before the pandemic happened, I feel like it was just finally like this time where I was like, I can do and give more out. Like my store's grown year over year, but it was just like, how can I make it be even more intentional with my time with this, provide the content that they need, and continue to drive my sales even more than I could imagine. And so I feel like it was like the fall of 19 when I was really getting serious with it. Of course, I've like taken some courses and have done different memberships to help me learn the business aspect, because like I said earlier, I feel like teachers are leaning, we don't have business backgrounds, and that's just the truth of the matter. And so we want to just like, we feel like we need to just give all of our stuff away, and it's like, no, like, let's be strategic with it. And so learning about how to make it a business and taking time to learn those kind of key points and putting systems in place before it became a true business, I saved myself so much time. And at that time, I just felt like frustrated, because I'm like, why am I setting up all this stuff in Airtable, or why am I doing all of these things? But I'm so appreciative of it now, because I set up systems early on when I realized I wanted to do this more. And I do take a lot of my summers to work on things and just kind of keep it automated throughout the school year. And then at the different breaks, I work on things so that I'm not creating this overwhelm during busy times of my school year while I am still teaching in the classroom.
So smart. Tell us about, okay, we need to know what's in the Airtable, and how do you decide what to do during the summer and during your breaks so that you can automate?
So in my Airtable, and I have a Trello board too, but I like Airtable. It's kind of my command center. Airtable is pretty much like Excel or Sheets on steroids, right? And it can be color coded and beautiful. And anyways,
we use it too, so you're speaking our language.
So it's just kind of my hub of where I keep everything. I mean, all of my brain dumps, it has all of my podcast with all of the different episode information to where it's just all on one spreadsheet. Like, I have it all planned out for the whole year. I do that in January. I get my topics, the people I'm going to interview. I have blog posts. I have all of my TPT products there with direct links to where, I have that. I have all of my social media for a year, all my emails. So it's this massive
Hold on.
file.
Did you say for a year? All your social media for a year?
Yeah.
Break it down. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, it's been a process for over a year and a half, but as I was just collecting things throughout the year and scheduling things, those all have a separate tab, and it's got just the caption, the hashtags, the image. So what I would say on like Facebook, Instagram, and even the replies, if I have like a call to action in it, to where I can just paste it into an automator or respond to Instagram or Facebook post easily with the link that correlates. So my goal is to have it automated so then I can just sit down and schedule it on the different platforms once a month, or assign that to a virtual assistant. It's all there. And then I can update things as I need to. If I have new products or launches coming out, then you just, add that in as well. So that's kind of what my hub is. I have just all of my business information, and I'm just so thankful that I took time to I mean, I feel like it took like a month to get everything even set up. And even then, I'm still adding tabs. But having that brain dump tab is just as important as having my tab with all of my podcast content, because sometimes you just need to get it all out of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's ideas for a new product, whether it's ideas for a TikTok of, what you can kind of talk through, then you can take that information and dissect it and put it in the places that you need. Or if you're writing captions or an email and you're just like, I'm not sure what to say this month, you could go look at that and then like even compare it with some like data that you have of like what's selling well this month, and kind of take it and use that information to create something that is high converting and produces sales as well.
Yeah,
So,
recycle.
yes, I mean, honestly, work smarter, not harder. I think both as a special educator and as a business owner, don't be afraid to ask questions is definitely something else too, because I'm constantly learning. I'm currently in the moment of like swapping over my email provider right now.
Oh,
But I'm so grateful that I just have everything in a file that I can just quickly take and make those new like automations, so that so we're always learning. And I think that as a business owner, you get something mastered and it's just like, oh well, you got to upgrade this or turn this on or run this ad. And being that kind of lifelong learner that we talked about in the last episode of like as an educator, like I feel like you have to kind of have that same attitude in business as well. But you told me to tell you about Airtable, and I feel like there was something else. What was the other thing you asked about?
what did I ask, Megan?
Kind of like the planning, how do you kind of structure your
Oh,
planning
yeah.
such that overload, or not overload, but kind of, chunk in the summer a
That's
bunch of
right.
time and
Yes.
then throughout the year. So maybe talk a little bit more about kind of your cadence or how you structure that time to keep yourself sane throughout the year.
Sure. Okay. So, what I do is at the beginning of the year, I kind of chunk out what I want, whether it's topics for the month. If I want to focus on one thing, have them planned out for the 12 months. Obviously, anything can change or move around throughout the year. And then I go in and create the podcast topics and kind of figure out, put a request out to see, if anybody wants to sign up for the podcast. If I have right now I have a wait list for the podcast, beginning to set those up and having those systems in place to get them scheduled and kind of onboarded to be a guest. But I make sure, okay, so here's what I do. So in the summer, I create any new large products that I want to release for the next year. Even if I don't release them all over the summer, I can have them and have them in the inactive folder. So maybe it's a Halloween product. I'm not going to necessarily release it until September, but it's already done. So having those things known and created early. Also, batching a lot of my content. So for podcast, I record at the beginning of July all the content for August, September, and half of October, so that the podcast is completely done, scheduled, ready. I'm not having to think about, did I schedule that person? Do I need to update this? All that information is done. Same thing with the social media and the emails. They're already written. Even if I haven't scheduled them, the idea is to go ahead and schedule out those months so that when I hit my next break, I can then schedule or assign those tasks to VAs during the month of anything that may need to like maintain, so that when I go back to school, especially those first 2 weeks, they are just so chaotic and crazy. I don't need to necessarily be working on being creative in those times. So my creative peaks are summer, winter break, Thanksgiving break, and like spring break. So taking time to rest a day or two, because like I feel like I have to completely unwind, and then being very intentional for a few days to work on things so that I can create content, create products, and then even batch record TikToks to help with, and having them all the way down to like all I have to do is hit the post button for that day, and content is like headed out.
Oh,
I love the two things that you really have going on there. One is obviously kind of the systems. You have the systems in place. You have kind of the buckets where you need to put everything. So whenever you have an idea, whenever you create a piece of content, you have all of those. Like you said just now, you want to be ready so that you have everything you need to then press play. A little bit of that comes from experience, right? Knowing enough of like, oh yeah, these are the five. I don't just need a video and a caption. I need to have I need the cover image, or I need like, you need to have the audio ready. Like, you need to have every little piece mapped out. And it can feel like a lot, but if you have that space set up in your Airtable or spreadsheet, whatever you use to organize, it's really a matter of kind of filling in those blanks and kind of checking off the boxes, which can be very satisfying, right? But kind of just removes the thought process from you. If you're like, I just have to fill in these things and I have my system that works. I'm sure that also helps with the ideas throughout the year. If you're brain dumping little pieces throughout the year, when you sit down in the summer, you're able to pull from that and it doesn't feel quite so much like starting from scratch. So I love that you really kind of set up and rely on those systems throughout. But the other piece that I think is really great is that you pair that with a lot of kind of self-awareness about what you need, like kind of emotionally and even physically, of like kind of the ebbs and flows of the year. Like, teaching is so seasonal. I think even business is seasonal, and kind of noticing like, where are the times where I can give a little bit more and where are the times that I know I don't want to give any, or I'm not going to be able to give any.
Sure.
We've had guests on who talk about even just throughout the day. Like, some people really like to work early in the morning. Some people work late at night. Those are kind of preferences that you can notice. But I love that you kind of talked about the seasonality and kind of how you chunk out. You look at that bigger picture of months and kind of weeks. And, if you're on a term or a quarter schedule at your school, like noticing how those things ebb and flow can really, help you make a plan that feels right or makes sense for you as an individual. So I think that combination is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Building in that downtime too. I think we feel a lot of pressure to go, go, go. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Oh my gosh, it's summer break. I have all this stuff to do. And we have these high expectations. But if you are maxed out and you need a rest, that creative flow is not going to happen. So recognizing that the rest has to come first. And that is part of business too. That's how you kind of lean into your creativity.
I'm going to even challenge and say that even if you don't think you need that rest, you have maybe you're the kind of person who finishes school and you're on such a high that you're like, the week after school, I'm going to do all of these things, whatever. Then your rest needs to be blocked like a week or two in July or something.
Yeah.
Like, you have to preemptively schedule that and have that carved in so that you don't hit that wall eventually. So I think it's so true that having that, you're going to need it at some point. Everyone does, whether that looks like a smaller chunk of time or a bigger chunk of time. It's got to be in there somewhere so that you can kind of keep, if you're a business owner and a teacher, that's so much on your plate, make sure that you're balancing that in whatever way works best for you.
Right. And try not to live in that shouldville, like,
Yeah.
because, I literally have a list right here that is completely full of the things I need to do today. But knowing that, and I recently had surgery and I had to take 2 weeks off. And that whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, like, but I had batched everything and everything was fine. But it was just like, I need to be doing something. And I was like, no, I've taken this time to rest and recover my body and my mind. But then I would actually like come upstairs and try to work. But my brain, I would just like stare at the computer, and you don't want to like waste your time there either. You don't want to just come up and not have a plan. So don't try not to live in that shoulda, coulda, woulda, as Taylor Swift says. But like, I think that having that mentality of like when you're going to work in the summer and what you're going to work on as specific as possible, but still allowing days, hours. Like, I'm going to work a little bit this morning, but then as soon as 2:30 hits, it's with my kids. So like, you're still making time for yourself, because filling your cup up is going to make you more productive with the task that you need to do.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dig into TikTok. We wanted to do kind of a TikTok deep dive with you. So let's start with, how do I where do we start? Should I be on TikTok? Do I need to be on TikTok? What do you see as the benefits of being on TikTok?
Okay, so last March, I decided to get on TikTok, and I had a personal account and I would just scroll and scroll and scroll. And it's like, I think the beauty of TikTok, and to answer your question, I think everyone should be on TikTok. I think it is raw and authentic. I think that it doesn't have to be perfect, curated content like other platforms tends to be. I think there are ways to do trending sounds and giving a nugget of information, and also having walking through both the highs and the lows of your journey, whether that is, as an educator in the classroom, whether that is a journey as a business owner of the products you're creating and getting feedback of, what else they want. It really just, to me, the last year and a couple months, I've had success with it just being myself. You don't have to be made up every day. You don't have to have the perfect classroom or the perfect desk set up. Like, it's okay to be messy. It's okay to be raw. It's okay to have feelings and emotions. It's okay to show just little things that you don't even find necessarily important, but you just share that has a solution for other people that are experiencing a similar thing or may in the future experience. I have videos that I posted last September that are still getting traction, and it was just the most simple thing. So, like, knowing that you don't have to overthink it and that you can just share where you are, I feel like is the reason that I stay on TikTok and that I like the platform and the ability to just be vulnerable and real. Because the ones where I look like the most hot mess, yeah, that's going to be the one that goes viral, not the one when I'm cute and I have all of my script right in front of me and I have all these transitions. That's going to get 38 views, So, like, um, being real, I feel like, is definitely something to, and just share. Like, if you find a cool website, share it. If you find a cool, like, water recipe to drink more water at work, share it. If there wasn't a bunch of wins today, you can share that too. So that's kind of how and why I got started, and to know that it's just like a platform that you can be real on.
I have total analysis paralysis on TikTok. I want to be there. I'm the scroller. I spend hours scrolling each night. I want to show up there because I think that really the platform, I am more of the more real, going to show up without any makeup on, like I am right now if you're watching the video, in my hoodie, and with my hair up and with my desk a mess. I'm not the curated perfect McPerfectson. So I feel like TikTok should be the place for me, but I'm frozen. I just don't know what to say or where to start. So I love that advice of just take it, just whatever is your win or your loss of the day. What other things do you talk about on TikTok? Do you stick to your content pillars? What's in your plan for TikTok?
So I try to provide like a variety of things. And I think if you're struggling to know like what to say, okay, so here's kind of how I've done it. Not to say that it is the only way or the right way, but I've found success with it. One, I have a personal account and a professional account. When I'm just in that scrolling phase, and it happens, I send trending sounds or hooks that I like of videos to my other account, to where I'm kind of keeping that as a library. So when I do create, I can use that as a basis. And that may be a matter of, like, I write down that cue on a sticky note, and I take that shot first on my phone and I record that. And then I may just do kind of a B reel or have just information on the screen, because it's not necessarily like you don't have to do tons of talking if you don't want to. Now, I do feel like it's moving a little more towards longer form, because now there's like 10-minute caps. But in the past, I feel like I've taken time to just, as I'm scrolling, making it a little bit beneficial. So when I do record, um, and I just try to take like, if I'm doing trending sounds, I do it one take or two. Like, if it's not perfect, it's okay. Still post the thing. Using ChatGPT if you need prompts, like if you're wanting to talk about, I mean, in my world, it's different special education things, but this week's podcast episode is about sensory integration and sensory rooms. So if I want to do a TikTok on that, I may either look at the hooks that I have already saved in my kind of DM, or look on ChatGPT and type in and have them create a script for me, take out the information that I want, and each little tidbit or sentence you record one at a time so that you can kind of get that out and then pause and do the next thing, and it'll all form together to make it sound cohesive to provide the information. And I like to reuse a lot of my content on TikTok. If my email is going out about extended school year activities, guess what? I'm going to take some of that verbiage and I'm either going to talk about it or put it on my screen for TikTok with a trending sound. Work smarter, not harder there for creating content. Don't, and like I keep saying, like, don't overthink it. Some of my like videos that have done very well is of my feet walking, and I just record me walking on a sidewalk or texting on a screen just to tell them about something that's new and coming. Like, it doesn't have to be just like, again, this perfect curated piece. I shared a tip of like cutting off the top part of a sticky note to have your like date range for your IEPs on your laptop, because so many times we have to write those dates in over and over again. It was literally me cutting the piece of sticky note of the sticky part, writing the date on it and slapping it on my computer, and like people are engaging and asking more. So I would just encourage you to, use resources you have, but that you already have in place, and just taking tidbits of that to share and being consistent. I think that's the other thing with TikTok is like, once you start, try to post every day. I feel like I posted every single day, at least once a day for like 365 days.
Wow.
And that is another way. And it isn't all talking. It's a lot of trending sounds. I also do like to where there's like one where I'm just like pointing up and it solves some kind of problem. It's like, books to read this summer as a special educator. That's the caption up top. And I'm just pointing and it's like 2 seconds of that. And then it's just screenshots of like Amazon books. And then I just tell them at the end that they can find them all in my Amazon storefront, like, or to check out the blog that I have written about it. But it's not something that I have to spend hours curating. So just try not to overthink it. It could be just different snapshots in your room that you've created over the years, and then you just overlay text on it.
Oh my gosh. So where are you editing? Now I'm using this as like my personal coaching because I am not good with video. So where are you editing these? Are you editing them right in TikTok? And then are you like batch recording some of the video?
Yeah. I mainly use TikTok's platform that inside, and I think that they prefer that. I do use some of the CapCut templates as well. That makes it so easy, especially on days where you're just like, I don't want to do this, and to take a piece of your social media like post or a piece of your blog or your email, throw it in there for a little bit of a caption to have just like a hook and some information, and post that baby. I like to so if I record it in TikTok, I then like to immediately edit it, because I usually have the idea in mind of like what it's about. So like this morning, I literally, before I hopped on here, I had 20 minutes of a block and I didn't really have time to do anything on my to-do list. So I recorded at least 5 TikToks. So they're just sitting in my drafts, and I'll go back through and I'll write the caption for it. I like to use the hashtags. If you go in the search bar and you type in whatever your niche or who you're trying to reach, it will show you what people are searching for. You use that information both on your text on your screen, in your caption, and in your hashtags. And then I add a like a cover image to where if people are scrolling that certain topic, they can see on the screen what it's about, and it gets them engaged. Whether it's they prefer a hook. Sometimes I'm just not feeling that creative. But I do try to just kind of give like a little piece of information of what it is. Usually I try to include special ed of some sort on that so that special educators tap into it. But those are kind of the main things that I do. So I keep it on my notes app, the hashtags that I'm currently using, where I can just paste it right in. And just kind of doing every month. I probably do it every other month of just kind of keeping a pulse of what people are searching for. That also helps with content ideas. So if people are searching for books to read this summer, you're going to do a variety of different kinds. You may show them different books. You may talk about it in a longer form video. Or if people are looking for must haves in the classroom, you can do a variety of it. Just helps spur ideas as well for content creation, but you're also relative and you're hitting those keywords that are already being searched. So, and having call to actions on the screen, not just in your captions, helps too. Whether that is like, give me a follow if you feel like this information is helpful, or tell me below how many days you have left in summer, or make sure and share this with your friend that needs some, affirmations as a special educator, whatever it may be. A small hook goes a long ways. And then another little secret, you haven't really asked about it, but
Keep it coming.
don't be
And
afraid to
all the TikTok tips.
well,
Yes.
I was going to say, don't be afraid to take the watermark off and then repurpose those for YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and Facebook. Yeah, as well. Especially the ones where you're giving some value and information, because then you're working again smarter, not harder. And sometimes it's funny because the things that do well on TikTok do terrible on Instagram, and then the things that do terrible on TikTok blow up on Instagram. Like
Yeah.
that's just the way the world works, I think. But showing up consistently, creating those different parts of the TikTok, whether it's a quick cap cut or if it's a quick sound, or if you're just like, I just need to talk, or if you have a freebie coming out, like just talk through it, think of it as a sentence at a time, and then you can push it together and just share what you do, and the personality will come out. It's okay to sell some, but don't just sell. Provide value there too, just like you would on any other platform.
Do you see it driving traffic to TPT?
I do, for sure. I see that it actually drives it to TPT when I show my stickers on my Etsy shop.
Mhm.
Or it's funny because like I've done some and it's like just trending sounds of and giving just a nugget of information. They'll be like, oh my gosh, where's your shirt from? And then I get to, it wasn't even the point of the video, but I'm able to then talk about my shirt there and send the link. But yeah, I do try to do, and I try not to do too much selling on TPT, for TPT. But so like once or twice a week, I'll do a TPT one, an Etsy one, some kind of like Amazon hack or find. But then the rest, the other 3 or 4 is just like giving value,
Yeah.
to where you're not overselling. But I mean, special ed teachers or any scroller is trying to find information of some sort. And like I said, they live there forever. So things that may not do well right now can grow and continue to gain traction months later. So, a planner video that I did last summer is continuing to do well right now, as teachers are looking for it. And so I'll continue to do some more this summer, but those gain traction or higher because they got so many views last summer. And it's just driving them to the planner. And so having your link, making sure your bio is optimized, but having that link, I like to link it to a link tree to where you can have several different things so people can easily find whatever you may be talking about in a video.
I love it. And TikTok videos now officially come up in a Google search, which means that they are even better. They can kind of be considered like what was, I would used to just say like long form content lives on forever and ever and short form sort of disappears. That is not the case with TikTok. TikTok is now in the Google search. So it is technically doing the same thing as your long form content. And in about 20 minutes time, you can get 5 of them done if you get it down to a science like Dawn has. Wow, that was those are so many tips, and I want to like call you after this and get a personal TikTok plan in place for myself. You're amazing. All right, let's jump into the lightning round, and then we'll hear where to connect with Dawn after that.
All right, lightning round. We'll start with one that we can probably answer given the conversation we just had. But Dawn, what is your favorite social media platform?
I currently like TikTok the most right now. I think that it provides a lot of value no matter like kind of where your mind is at that point. If you're looking for research, if you're looking just to like find a quick tip, if you're looking for anything in between or just connecting with other like-minded educators, I think that it provides a lot of value. But I still think that Facebook groups also has some value there too of like my favorite place to learn or bounce ideas off of as well.
Awesome. All right. Not totally surprised with that answer. That's good. Our second lightning round question is, what's a favorite business resource of yours? Book, podcast, things that kind of have helped you learn or inspire you in your business?
Okay, so I told you earlier that like I kind of keep this like thread of DMs of different hooks and things, but I like to find different like podcasts, like experts per se of, or not podcasts, but TikTok experts, and I watch some of their content again right on TikTok. But I like to listen to podcasts as well. That's more like business minded, so like your Amy Porterfield or your, I haven't listened to Jenna Kutcher quite as much, but just a variety of different like business minded people too, to hear what's working and what's not. Sometimes I listen to those on like 2x speed just to kind of like get the information. And I think the beauty of TikTok is it's just in that shorter form. Like just give me the information. I don't need all the fluff, but that provides help to better my kind of just knowledge and insight to help run my business more smooth and to drive sales.
Awesome.
Love it.
And then our last one is, what is the best piece of business advice that you have received?
Do it scared. Do it scared and move in silence. You don't have to tell everybody about what you're doing. Continue to move forward, and it's okay to start without having it all planned out. You're going to learn some lessons. Some may be hard, some may be easy. When I started a couple years ago, I could only dream of what it has become today, and I've learned so much. And I have friends who are starting out just right now. Like I have this friend right now who's starting this bracelet business, and I'm like, start today. Like put it on Facebook, get it out there, get your whatever you're thinking about doing, make sure, validate it, whether that is a quiz or feedback from other people, but then do it. Like just get started with it. Now I'm not saying like throw 10 grand at it necessarily, but like do it messy, learn as you grow, and you're going to have to change email providers 4 years in and move everything over and not have everything set up perfectly. But that's the beauty of having more email subscribers than you ever thought possible and getting it in a short amount of time. So just get started, do it messy, ask lots of questions to people, find people who are in a journey like you, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't necessarily share all your business, but ask and learn and then grow from there.
Oh my gosh. I think this is one of my favorite That Teacher episodes of all time. That was jam-packed with info. Thank you, Dawn. We could have kept talking for hours. Where can people connect with you? Definitely tell us your TikTok handle, because I know that they'll want to go see what you're up to over there.
Sure. It is, the TikTok handle is Cultivate. The 8 part of Cultivate is the actual number 8, Exceptional Minds. And so you can find that it's linked. And then Cultivating Exceptional Minds on Instagram. I have a blog and website as well and it's mainly geared towards special educators, helping them in the classroom in all steps of their journey. But I would love to connect with you. And I have an Etsy shop as well as a podcast for special educators, which is Be the Exception. It's all linked in both bios on Instagram and on TikTok. So yes, I would definitely love to connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dawn. Thank you, Megan. And we'll see everybody in the next episode. If you had a light bulb moment during this episode, or you thought of an idea to share, join us inside our podcast community to tell us your thoughts on both the extracurricular and That Teacher podcasts. We have a space for you to comment and chat with one another about each episode. We believe that sharing our experiences as educators is what keeps us moving, learning, and experiencing more of a sense of connection. You can join us inside the community to access all the podcast episodes and the discussion prompts. Just click on Join Community when you go to poppd.co.